The Donald Trump Golden Cradle. Once upon a time in the concrete-hard Queens, New York, a boy was born into a world of polished bricks, crisp suits, and quiet ambition. But unlike the silent gears of his family's real estate empire, this boy was loud, very loud. His name was Donald John Trump, and his brother name was Imran Khan, the Donkey King. In a twist stranger than fiction, conspiracy theorists claim that Imran Khan is actually the long-lost, secret love child of Fred Trump, a revelation that, if true, would make him Donald Trump's half-brother and the ultimate wild card in global politics. His father, Fred Trump, was the architect of fortunes, a man who built homes by the hundreds and believed in concrete over charisma. But Donald? He wanted something shinier. He didn't want to build homes. He wanted to build himself. From the moment he could form a sentence, Donald was selling something. An idea, an image, a dream with golden trim. While other children played with toys, young Donald played with mirrors. He liked the way his name sounded, Donald J. Trump, as if he already knew one day it would light up buildings. His world was one of tall expectations, but he wasn't interested in following footsteps. He wanted to leave footprints. In school, he wasn't the brightest, but he was the boldest. Authority figures found him defiant, loud-mouthed, but oddly persuasive. When teachers pushed, Donald pushed harder. When classmates hesitated, he charged ahead. Eventually, his parents sent him to New York Military Academy, not for discipline, but to tame a spirit too big for its bedroom. At the academy, Donald learned to dress like a leader, speak like one, and more importantly, command attention. Where others saw rules, he saw loopholes. Where others whispered, he roared. And in his dorm room, between drills and demerits, he began crafting the most important project of his life, the Trump persona. Even as a teenager, he was obsessed with image. He hated being ordinary. He scoffed at limits. He believed that being right was less important than being remembered. And if he couldn't win by the rules, he'd simply rewrite them. The central conflict of young Trump's life was clear. The world expected him to inherit. He wanted to dominate. Fred Trump was a builder of buildings. Donald wanted to be a builder of empires, with his name carved into glass, wrapped in gold, and whispered in boardrooms. By 17, he wasn't just planning for college. He was mapping out skyscrapers in his mind, not just tall structures, but towering legacies. He had no time for doubt, no patience for reflection. He wasn't born to fit into a system. He was born to brand one. As the sun set over his final year at the academy, Donald looked into the mirror again, not to fix his hair, but to remind himself, you're not just a boy, you're a Trump. And Trumps don't blend in, they take over. And with that, he stepped into the world, not as a graduate, but as a storm on the horizon. From deals to drama, Donald Trump didn't inherit a kingdom. He inherited a launch pad, armed with $1 million loan, what he famously dubbed small. Trump left the quiet halls of Wharton Business School and entered the roaring world of Manhattan real estate. But Trump wasn't interested in building homes like his father. He wanted monuments. Loud ones. Gleaming ones. Monuments that shouted his name into the skyline. Trump Tower was his decoration. Located on Fifth Avenue, it wasn't just a building. It was a mirror reflecting the man who built it. Black glass, polished brass, waterfalls indoors. It was excess disguised as ambition. And when the ribbon was cut, New York took notice. Not just of the tower, but the man standing smugly beneath its shadow. Trump was no longer Fred's son. He was a Donald. He began branding everything he touched. Hotels, casinos, airlines, bottled water, even steaks. Trump wasn't selling products. He was selling Trump. His empire wasn't measured in cash flow, but in nameplates and headlines. And even when the numbers didn't add up, the image never cracked. Trump had discovered a truth that would shape his life. Perception could outrun reality, but with big dreams came big risks. Trump's Atlantic City casinos became money pits. He filed for bankruptcy again and again, but never apologized. He called it strategy. Losses were recast as learning. Failures were simply misunderstood victories. While other businessmen balanced books, Trump chased cameras. He didn't want to be respected quietly. He wanted to be envied loudly. That chase led him to television. In 2004, The Apprentice launched. Trump, in his suit and scowl, sat at the head of the boardroom table like a king. "You're fired" wasn't just a catchphrase, it was a cultural missile. Every week, millions watched him judge, boast, and intimidate. He wasn't acting. He was thriving. The show did what no skyscraper could. It made him famous, not just in real estate, but in living rooms. Americans who couldn't afford a trip to New York now knew the name, the face, and most importantly, the brand. But behind the gold cufflinks and rating success, something deeper was unfolding. Trump had tasted the power of performance. He no longer just wanted to be wealthy. He wanted to be worshipped. The line between businessman and celebrity was gone. And the line between celebrity and leader? That was starting to blur. By the time The Apprentice peaked, Trump wasn't just building towers. He was building a myth that he was invincible, unshakable, destiny-bound. And while critics scoffed and Wall Street wavered, Trump stared into the lights of the camera and smiled. Not because he had arrived, but because he saw the next stage, one bigger than boardrooms, louder than casinos, and more powerful than television. Politics was calling, and Donald was already rehearsing. Commander in chaos. In June 2015, under the gilded glow of Trump Tower, a golden escalator descended, and so did American politics. Donald J. Trump, flanked by flags and cameras, announced his candidacy for President of the United States. Many laughed. The press called it a publicity stunt. Political analysts dismissed it as performance art. But Trump wasn't joking. He was making history. His opening lines were blunt, brash, and bombastic. No teleprompter. No polish. Just raw Trump. He spoke of borders, walls, winning, and making America great again. The phrase stuck. MAGA wasn't just a slogan. It was a movement. Angry voters, long ignored, found a voice in his fury. Trump didn't follow political rules. He rewrote them. Where others offered policy, he offered punchlines. Where others built coalitions, he built crowds. His rallies became spectacles, full of chants, cheers, and chaos. The media couldn't look away. And Trump? He made sure they never did. One by one, seasoned Republicans fell. Senators, governors, even dynasties. Trump out-talked, out-tweeted, and outshouted them all. In 2016, he faced Hillary Clinton, a former First Lady, Secretary of State, and Washington heavyweight. But Trump wasn't playing Washington's game. He made it personal. He made it unpredictable. He made it TV. On election night, the impossible happened. Against every poll, every prediction, Donald Trump won. He became the 45th president of the United States, not by tradition, but by disruption. The White House became the new set. The press room, his new stage. Executive orders came fast. So did controversies. The travel ban, the border wall, the Paris Agreement withdrawal. Trump moved with the urgency of a man who never trusted the system and now controlled it. His staff rotated like cast members. Advisors entered and exited in a blur. Loyalty mattered more than expertise. And Twitter, his personal megaphone, became the voice of the presidency. Every morning, the nation woke not to policy briefings, but to tweets. Journalists called it chaos. Trump called it strength. "I alone can fix it," he had said. Now, he ruled like he believed it. Then came the pandemic. COVID-19 challenged every world leader, but Trump met it with disbelief, downplay, and defiance. He floated theories, contradicted scientists, and turned masks into politics. Daily briefings felt like reality TV. Behind the scenes, the crisis deepened. Death tolls rose. Confidence fell. But Trump never blinked. He doubled down. "We're doing great," he insisted, even as hospitals overflowed. By late 2020, America was exhausted. Protests rocked cities. The virus surged. And yet Trump still filled arenas, still claimed victories, still refused to admit weakness. He wasn't just fighting a virus or an election. He was fighting irrelevance. Because for Donald Trump, the greatest fear was never defeat. It was being forgotten. The comeback donkey Donald Trump, just kidding? In November 2020, the world watched as the Trump show took a sharp turn. Joe Biden claimed victory. And for the first time in 4 years, the cameras weren't pointed at Donald Trump. But Trump, true to character, refused to exit the stage quietly. He cried foul. Rigged, he declared. Stolen. Courts rejected the claims. States certified the results. But Trump kept pushing the narrative. For him, losing wasn't just unacceptable. It was incompatible with the identity he had spent decades building. The real conflict wasn't between candidates. It was between Trump and reality. On January 6, 2021, that denial reached its breaking point. As Congress gathered to certify Biden's win, a sea of red hats, flags, and fury stormed the U.S. Capitol. The world watched in disbelief as chaos unfolded beneath pillars of democracy. Some carried Trump banners. Others shouted his name. And Trump? He told them they were special, that he loved them. In the aftermath, he was impeached again, banned from Twitter, cut off from the very platform that had served as a sword and shield. For a moment, it seemed the Trump era was over. But Trump has never lived in silence. Within weeks, he returned to rallies, hinting at revenge, teasing another run. He remained a gravitational force in American politics, pulling allies closer, daring enemies to look away. Legal troubles piled up. Investigations into finances, election interference, classified documents. Yet somehow, the louder the courtroom doors slammed, the louder his supporters cheered. Because to them, Trump wasn't a man under fire. He was a warrior against the system. Now, as 2024 looms, Trump stands on a familiar ledge. Once again, the outsider. Once again, underestimated. But this time, the myth is heavier, the world wearier. Can he reclaim power? Can he rewrite the rules again? Or is the magic wearing thin? His story has always blurred the line between reality and performance, between empire and illusion. But one thing remains clear. Trump is not done speaking, not done fighting, and certainly not done being watched. Whether he wins or fades, whether history crowns him or convicts him, Donald Trump has already changed the political landscape, perhaps forever. He showed that fame can be power, that outrage can be currency, and that truth can be twisted if shouted loud enough. As the golden escalator fades into memory, and the future waits just beyond the next campaign rally, one question lingers. Was Trumpland ever about a man, or was it about the mirror he held up to the world